Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you the most overpowered weapons in Borderlands 4 which can do things like that, absolutely destroying enemies. I'll be covering all the best weapons in this game, and a lot of them have some similar properties which I'll discuss in this video because there's some new things regarding weapons in Borderlands 4. As you can see there, this weapon is chaining around to multiple enemies and it just destroys absolutely everything in its path. There's many other weapons like this in this game, but this one definitely is one of my absolute favorites for the massive amount of damage it can do in a huge area. So I'll dive right in with one of the most overpowered weapons of the game with the Kickballer here. Now, in particular, this one has the Jakobs Accessories. A lot of the best weapons in this game have this quality. So basically, whenever you get a critical hit, it'll ricochet projectiles to additional targets. And this can just automatically wipe out an entire pack of enemies. On top of this, we compare this with one of the most overpowered knives or grenades, ordinances in the game, which gives you automatic critical hits for 5 seconds. So you throw one of these, you pop this, and you're going to get automatic explosions that hit out to multiple other targets. There's some other weapons that actually really highly benefit from this, like the Lucian's flank, which we'll get to a little bit later, which critical hits will restore 2 ammo. So if you have a high fire rate weapon or build, it'll work perfectly with this. Now, some of these weapons are better on certain builds, which I'll discuss as played through all 4 different characters here, and I'll break down absolute best strategies to utilize them. But again, first, Kickballer here, having huge damage over time too, the fire damage being 8,000 damage over time, but it's really that Jakobs Accessory there that does massive amounts of damage. So you see multiple targets here, you can just go in and yeah, just go for the headshots if possible with this, and then it chains away to multiple targets there. As you can see, everywhere there's going to be bullets. It's insane the amount of damage that it can do. There's actually another shotgun that does quite a bit more damage in terms of single target damage, but this one's going to surround the entire area. So if you're going against a bunch of mobs, you can just pop one of these, throw your throwing knife you see there, just shreds everything down. You will knock yourself out there, as you can see, but once it gets going, it's crazy the amount of damage and coverage that you can get with this. So yeah, you just pop that throwing knife and it'll chain to as many targets as it possibly can and just continue to keep chaining. So yeah, this has got to be one of the most overpowered weapons in this game. So with this one being the most overpowered in a large area of effect, the other shotgun that's also brokenly strong is the Hot Slugger. So with this, it gives you a boost to your overall damage. Now there's actually a Rafa build which really highly benefits from this, adding 45% corrosive damage every time you reload your gun. This gun has 1 bullet, which makes this insane. There's a lot of other items in this game and class mods that will increase your first round after reloading, which highly benefits this. Rafa actually has 2 skill tree perks that power this up, so this is best utilized on Rafa, but also on any of the characters here. So this also gives you plus 30% damage, 3 stacks, so plus 90% damage for 10 seconds on kill, which is crazy, but it also ricochets your projectiles to multiple enemies. Now what makes this gun so powerful is its ability to chain around to multiple enemies, and Vex actually takes really high advantage out of this weapon because she can get lifesteal off of this as well. So really the technique to use with this is throw the throwing knife at a target, just continually keep shooting at them. For that 5 seconds after the throwing knife, they're going to be taking your critical hits on every single shot, and then those critical hits are also chaining off to other targets as well. So yeah, this is not the most ideal way to showcase this, but alright, so here it is on a more optimized build. So just going around here, getting headshots with this gun is not really that hard because it has a huge projectile. And then with this, every time you throw the knife, you get those critical hits off. And I have a specific shield that's shooting off missiles after every kill, which is further killing enemies. And on top of all of this, I have lifesteal on this gun since it doesn't have any type of elemental damage on it. So this is keeping my character alive. If you have a specific skill tree on Vexen that uses the Eldritch Blast from her health, she can just continually keep reloading guns and do a ton of damage. This weapon is pretty much a one-shot, especially on a character. If you have specific items, again, like using the crit knife, and then this one here, which will ricochet 40% of non-critical hits, and shotgun and damage is increased by 38%. And then also with this, increasing kinetic damage by 40% as well. And with some skill trees, again, Rafa probably being the absolute best user of this because they can add extra corrosive damage on every single shot and additional damage on their shots. But you saw that, we destroyed this boss fight really quickly. Now next up we have a sniper rifle with the eviscerating stray here. So the stray ability makes 2 standard secondary bullets that will home in on targets. Where this gets crazy is it also can have the Jakobs Accessory here, which will chain its attacks to multiple targets. It's a fully auto sniper too that has auto aim. I don't have to explain how good that obviously is. And paired with something like this class mod here, which gives plus 40% kinetic damage and plus 45% sniper damage. And then the high caliber, which will also increase your gun damage and allow it to pierce enemies. It gets absurd how high damage you can get. So yeah, paired with a critical hit knife, you can pretty much just hold down your trigger here, and it's just going to go around shooting at targets, and it literally does the work for you. You don't have to aim, it's just going to hunt down targets itself. And if you have a boss in front of you, all you have to do is throw your throwing knife at it, and it'll chain around to multiple targets. So this is, it almost feels not too fun to play, but if you want something that you just want to chill and play the game, maybe you're hunting for other types of loot, you can just go ahead with this here, and the bullets will hunt down targets, like from a really far range too, as you can see. Yeah, it's just absurd the amount of damage that you can do without having to aim. Not my preferred way of playing, but this is a good gun if you want to just, you know, go around being hard to get shot by, because you can move around quickly and you don't have to really worry about your aim, so that's no longer really a big problem. So yeah, that's kind of why the weapon is so good, because you can see here, I'm not really even paying attention. I'm just looking at the camera right now. There's a boss that just popped up here, and then all you have to do against bosses is go throw your throwing knife at them, and then it's going to chain all those bullets around to other targets, so it gets pretty crazy how much damage you can yeah, we're taking him out like absurdly quickly. I don't even know what was hurting him there. We're just doing so much damage, but everything all together with this weapon is insane. You can see there, paired with different augments and the lifesteal, this is a really good weapon for Vex, especially if you want to use a sniper rifle without having to focus on actually aiming it, because yeah, it doesn't really matter. You can aim at the floor for all it cares. It's going to find its targets. I want to give a quick honorable mention to the Oscar mic on me. What this does is it gives you the space laser, which literally will blow up whatever target you're calling in. 17,000 damage every 0.2 seconds, and it goes even higher than that. So this weapon's great against certain bosses that just stick in one particular place, because what you do is you shoot down this here, and boom, you're going to release it, and then that just destroys everything in that area. The gun itself is alright. It shoots a decent bit of damage, but you really want to use it for that crazy nuke that it has like a 35-second cooldown on. It's pretty crazy, but I don't want to focus too much on this because the gun itself, it's a decent gun, all things considered, but it's really just that laser beam attack that you can see there, the Kamehameha from the sky that just absolutely destroys everything in its path. But again, as mentioned, the damage potential from this isn't too bad either, so yeah, it's pretty fun. An assault rifle I really want to focus on that I think is flying under the radar here is the Goalkeeper. Now this, you can see, has very high DPS, but it's a little bit better than that, because this gun shield will give 50% extra damage when it's broken, so you can use that to block hits. It also has the Jakobs Accessory. As I mentioned, this is one of the most powerful abilities in the game. You also get the ability to use your sniper ammo, so if you're not using a sniper rifle, you can go between assault rifle and sniper, and you can also charge up to 5 attacks. This is like a camping gun, but it's also really high damage, so whenever you bring this one out, you got this here, and then you go for the headshots. That's crazy. If you got a boss with 5 shots, you throw your throwing knife at them, those 5 shots are going to chain around to multiple targets. The damage from this gun is so high. It's got 2,000 damage at level 50 here. You don't even need to hit the charge rate. You can just shoot it pretty quickly as well. And the damage from it's just the high damage that you get from this gun that's so crazy. So yeah, you can see there, we're just shredding through that boss. It's chaining around to multiple targets as well. And yeah, you don't even have to use I'll just go with the full charge there, but it's shredding through things really quickly. I think this is a gun that people won't really pay attention to, because the order guns with the charge is not always everyone's favorite, but you can literally see it right there. The massive amounts of damage, you got a shield from the front. This is one that's, I think, going to be an underrated gun when we look back at this game. Now, due to this game having a lot of shields, you want to have some type of shock-based weapon. And I think the superconducting plasma coil is one of the best. I use this, I got lucky with a drop and got it pretty early on in the game, and I ended up using it for quite a while because it's reliable, high damage. It also can do radiation or shock. That's the only 2 elements that you get, but the radiation damage is great because it gives you some mobbing. If there's a lot of enemies in the area, it can explode them all. And then the shock is there for anyone that's got shields. So this is... It's mostly a close range weapon, so if you're moving around with like a melee build, you can see there, it just melts anything in its way. But it's mostly those large projectiles that make it so easy for it to hit multiple targets there. And with specific builds, you can see there, it obviously is chaining around. We got a lot of stuff going on between this build, but the damage from it is just really nice, especially if you got a boss up close, because you can just use these little charge balls that shoot out of it. And it's got like this 5-round burst. It's pretty good damage and good at close range too, because it's not going to explode and hurt yourself. So if you get something in close like that, you're not in a bad position. And then you can always do the good old-fashioned throwing knife trick to get those easy free crits off on him. And yeah, you see it there, destroyed that boss in a matter of seconds. Don't even have to really use your action skill when you got a gun like this, because it shreds through absolutely everything. So yeah, this is a gun that I found worked for a lot of the game, because there's a lot of shield type enemies in this game, and this will usually destroy the shield of most, like, even badass enemies in like 1 or 2 bursts. So yeah, paired with this nice, obviously that powers things up quite a bit, because the large and slow projectiles are a little bit harder to get headshots with, but you saw it there how quickly we melted that boss. Now, every Borderlands game has their staple burst SMG that just ends up being a good overall weapon, but the Darkbeast in particular can get some pretty cool enhancements to it. So it has the ability to pierce enemies and have a 5% chance when hitting an enemy to cause an explosion, so it can do a large area of effect damage on the 5% rate is actually pretty good. On a burst, it's like a 25% chance, so every time you hit a burst, you're very likely to get this explosion. And on top of this, you can also get the Jakobs Accessory to have the critical hits chained to multiple enemies. And then also, this can have a Maliwan licensed underbarrel. You don't see it often. You mostly just get this as corrosive, but I have a corrosive and radiation damage one, which is really cool. But the big thing about this gun, I'm not using a very optimal build right now on this character, but it's the headshots chaining to multiple targets, and then it also being corrosive damage. So there's not many corrosive weapons in this game that are that good. This is possibly the best corrosive weapon, unless you get a different one of the other ones with a corrosive enhancement, but this one will always be corrosive. And I think it's one of the best because there is quite a bit of robots. Unfortunately, a lot of the robots are early on in the game, but it can do crazy amounts of damage, especially with that critical hit knife, because yeah, you don't have to aim too much with it, and you just shoot for the body, especially on larger enemies, because then they just become fuel for your critical hits to chain to other enemies. That's the beautiful thing about this knife mixed with this gun, because yeah, you can shred down multiple things in your path. So this is one of the best actual knives, or best items for if you're going to use, like, you need a corrosive type build, and yeah, just good burst damage. With also the Lucian's flank here. Now, I mentioned this at the start of the video because this one on a high fire rate build is incredibly powerful. It has 75 bullets, but every time you fire and hit a critical hit, it restores 2 ammo to your magazine. And you can also use the alt fire to be able to shoot even further, quicker, and you can also get the ability to chain critical hits to multiple enemies. So again, this benefits from a lot of these other abilities too, and you'll chain 40% of them with this class, or this enhancement as well. So it gives you so much damage, and you get those free critical hits with the knife. This gun gets crazy if you're able to land that on an enemy, and it's also great on Amon, because he doesn't have that many great builds, but with cryo damage, he can actually become a menace because he can boost that up quite a bit and give additional freeze and slow on enemies. So yeah, getting those free critical hits in obviously helps out quite a bit, because then whenever you're getting critical hits, it's going to restore the bullets back to its magazine, and then you're just basically firing this infinitely. Again, this really pairs well if you're able to get a build that's focused on fire rate, because then you just go in and get those critical hits, and it restores the magazine really quickly there, and it gets the improved fire rate as well. So yeah, this is a build or a gun that works on a lot of different builds just because of the pure raw damage output and the ability to recover your own bullets. Cryo being pretty good in this game because it slows down enemies, and anytime that you're able to outmaneuver an enemy, you're obviously in a good position. But it works really well, again, with this throwing knife, because those free critical hits chaining around, you can see there, crazy amounts of damage. Again, this build is not optimal at all for right now, but it's doing still quite a bit of damage to targets around it there. So pretty cool the amount that you can do with this, and this is on a higher difficulty as well. So yeah, it shreds headshots on this, great, especially on bosses that have large hit points. This one, or large critical hit spots, it just makes this gun so much more powerful. But I honestly think that the Kickballer, especially on Amon with ordnance boosting abilities, can make it for a really fun playthrough. You can also get this in different elemental types too. This weapon's the one I showed off at the start of the video. It's just old reliable, because anytime you need to just destroy everything, you just pop that. You'll get your fight for your life second wind, no problem, just because those grenades flying all over the place is just absurd. So yeah, I think this is actually the best weapon in Borderlands 4, just because you can do some pretty crazy things, especially with these critical hit knives, allowing it to chain off to multiple targets there, just like that, and then they critically hit and chain off more targets, and yeah, you just get an entire battlefield covered with grenades, and everything just dying instantly. So yeah, this is pretty fun. Let me know your thoughts on the most powerful weapons in Borderlands 4, and what other Borderlands 4 content you'd like to see next. Hit the subscribe button below if this is your first time, and I'll catch you around.